this show.
837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you like to listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with me at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate.
And hello to all my self-joiners. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I am joined by two very special guests tonight. Two of probably my favorite people in the industry, in their industry, of course. What? Say what? And I actually feel like we've been I know that you left for a little while, but you guys were here earlier, so we had lunch together. Now we're doing a show together. We're just the three best friends that anyone's ever had, right?
We should start singing now, I think.
We are going to turn tonight's show into a karaoke show, so buckle up, everybody. Yeah, we should help, yeah. So Sharon and Mary are actually away at a work retreat, so they are not joining me tonight, but I am joined again by two very special people in this industry. Jazmine Glasgow. I got it. I know, and you know what, I say it all the time too, but when you're in my presence, I'm like, oh, you make me feel nervous.
It's like Jazmine Glasgow, whenever I'm...
Jazmine! Well, I even said Jazmine before you even came out, whatever.
Jorge,
yeah. We have George Post. You guys are from Maritime Mortgage. I'm going to get us completely set up on Facebook, but I do want to give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves to all of our listeners. I know you've been on the show before, and you are an avid listener. I hope you're an avid listener as well, George.
Indeed.
Okay, good. But you guys actually have done, you've taken over our show before. A couple months ago, you guys did the show. And Sharon and I were like, we're going to a meeting. It was a town meeting, too, in Pembroke. We're going to a town meeting. You guys just do the show, okay?
Be careful if they invite you over for pizza. You might end up hosting a radio show.
Yeah. You know what? I find it pretty fun. I mean, the 8 a.m. on Saturdays have been a little tiresome for me so far, but it kicks my day off.
They're really great. I love the spot because
I know.
Everyone started kind of get comfortable.
Yeah,
and
it's 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. I don't love, and then from 8 on I'm like, okay, my day started. I've been getting my nails done, and then I go to work in the afternoon. I'm like, all right, fine, my day. I'm not laying in bed waiting for the show at 10. But yeah, so you guys have done the show before, but why don't you reintroduce yourselves to all of our listeners, where you're from, what you do, areas you service, all that fun stuff.
No, absolutely. So, first, Maritime Mortgage Corp. We have some licensing to get out there. We are NMLS number 2708. My NMLS is MLO 16226.
Wow.
If you want to go on Consumer Access and look us up and see, we've had no complaints out there. So, to leave stuff out of the way, my name is Jazmine Glasgow. I am broker co-owner of Maritime Mortgage.
Woohoo!
Yes, it is official. It's real quiet about it.
We're not going to be quiet about it anymore.
Not quiet about it anymore. No, I'm an owner of Maritime Mortgage, me and Colin Brennan. I'm also team lead of Team Maritime, and so that's George and I with some other awesome people on our crew. George is my right-hand man. So George Post. Tell them who you are.
An easier last name to pronounce. It's like the post office.
It's the first half of the post office.
My license number is 1693795. So get that out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm part of the Team Maritime team and Maritime Mortgage as a whole. And we're just so thrilled to be here and be a part of. Thank you for bringing us on.
Yeah.
Just in the intro, talking about families' journeys, and that's really why we wake up every morning, is to help that family and individuals as well. And it is such a journey, so we are so thankful to be brought on here.
It is a journey.
Mass, New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, and Florida. And people was like, you guys skipped a lot of states, but we only lend where we play, where we live, and where we really know the communities. Like, if I can't recommend a good donut shop to you, should I even be in?
Should I even be in the area? I need to know where the best donut is. Yeah.
We discovered delivered some amazing donuts in Western Mass just recently too. So I'll post that on my Facebook.
Yeah.
Let's get into this.
I know, and you mentioned the journey that we're sort of all on together. Everybody who listens, everybody who's in my life knows that I am pre-approved by you guys, and I do CC you on every offer I submit. I got the approval from you though. Like, okay, always, CC me on it, and I am picking up the phone and being like, okay, can I do this every single time? And we'll get into sort of like the journey of, writing an offer and being in contact with your loan officer or team. But yeah, I always say on the show, like, how important your roles are, because I, as a buyer, don't know where I am unless you guys are telling me, like, you are there. And I talk about our meeting all the time, because I'm like, I walked into Jazmine's office, like, being like, oh my gosh, she's going to make fun of me. Like, oh, she's going to be like, why did she ever think that she could buy? And I left being like, oh, Jazmine said I could buy a house. Okay.
I probably bought a house.
I should have bought it. Yeah, I should have probably bought it.
And I love to say, I love that you brought that up, because one of the biggest hurdles I feel like with people in the Bay Area, besides affordability on homeownership, really is fear.
Yeah.
It's fear of the unknown. It is fear of being judged.
Yeah.
It's fear of the whole process. And what do you do to fight against fear? You educate.
Yeah.
Right? You get the information and then you're informed. You can't be fearful of something you know is disproven. And it's not a judging process. It's either not right now or let's get going, right? So it's one or the other, but I feel like a lot of people feel that fear and they're like, they internalize it and they just go, I'm just going to wait. Yeah. But George and I did some math on the cost of waiting, and the money you leave on the table is, especially in an appreciating market, is just insane.
Astounding.
It's astounding. We can get into the numbers in a bit if anyone's interested. But generally, it has to begin with a conversation, a question.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, you guys are industry professionals and you have been doing this for a while, but you also both own personally multiple properties. So you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, and that's why myself and so many agents personally have used you guys, even, hello, in our building, 19 Massachusetts Street at Boston Connect Real Estate, you do commercial lending. You do commercial lending. Woo! And you can close in 28 days. Back then, in 2019 we could. But yeah, so, we obviously back you guys back us, and just, we love you guys, and thank you for joining me on my show.
Yeah, no, and it's always so much fun to hear the perspectives too, and there's always some really good questions. And someone I said, we're on the radio, it's like, are you going to talk about the home inspection process? And I was like, no, I wasn't.
I'm not a home inspector.
And I asked him, I said, what is it that you'd want me to talk about with that? Like, I'm not a home inspector.
A home inspector.
And I said, isn't that the point where you negotiate?
Yeah. Well,
I thought that was interesting.
Yes. I think it depends on what your offer is, if that's the point that you're starting to negotiate. But I do want to give the phone number to everybody listening. If you want to join in on the discussion or you have any questions for Jazmine or George, 781-837-4900 is the number over at the studio. We have our own George, too. George is in the studio ready for your call. And we are live on Facebook, so be sure to follow Boston Connect Real Estate. These two have their laptops up in front of me, and I feel like I'm missing, like, an accessory. No. Yeah, I'm sure you do. But yeah, we are live on Facebook, so if you are a little shy and don't want to call in, you can, join in the discussion on Facebook, too. So, okay, diving in.
Yeah, so that I want to start with that, and thank you, Cindy, for texting me that question. It's a really good one. Mm-hmm. Your offer, which is something that you work on with your real estate agent, that is going to list out all of the terms of everything that's going to take place in your purchase. So during that offer time, that is going to have when you close, how much you give as some skin in the game, or as we call it, the earnest money deposits. It is going to say whether or not you're giving yourself a home inspection period, some time to come back, and even what that inspection's for. So that home inspection, if you put for informational purposes only, That is different than just putting in a home inspection or putting in a home inspection for safety and soundness.
Yeah.
And so all of these different terms, this is the perfect question that you bring to a realtor. And this is the importance of working with a really good buyer agent, because what you put in that offer, that is not the time. You know, if you're looking for a closing cost credit, if you need the seller to contribute to your closing costs, your offer is where that information needs to be present. You can't hope that something's wrong so that you can then negotiate it in. And I think that's a really big contention, like that's a big point with agents. And some agents, I know as a strategy, do not ask until after the home inspection for a credit, even when they know the buyer needs it to buy. And so that is always a really tricky thing. And so I always defer to the agent on that question, but I do like people to know that your offer, it all comes back to that piece of paper, those terms that you put together. So I just wanted to answer that one first. Did you have a direction you wanted this to go? Because I know I said we're going to kind of wing it, but we got.
No, I mean, I'm down to just wing it. I mean, you guys, do you do your own show? I feel like I always see you talking into a microphone.
Yeah, I do the Mortgage Roundtable on Thursdays.
So you know what you're doing.
You have a newly bustling YouTube channel as well. Pretty out there on social media.
Check out our 4 videos on YouTube.
Promote them. Who cares? You're going to make more, right?
Real people doing real things. So it's really interesting as the world evolves, and you're like, I'm a part-time marketing professional, and I'm a YouTube specialist. And it's funny because the fact that it's become so popular to create content just shows how hungry people are for this information, and that there's really not any one good resource. So I want to kind of spend a few minutes debunking some things I keep seeing on TikTok.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm big into TikTok, so just debunk away.
Okay, so the one thing I keep hearing is, did you know that you can still buy with a 3% interest rate? Okay. Let's talk about
where.
The time of the historical low interest rates is gone. If we economically as a country do well in not messing up our entire government, it won't come back to 2s and 3s. Now, of course, it certainly could get messed up again, and we could make the same type of credit policies that cause those type of rates. But you have to remember, there was a global pandemic. An epidemic, then a pandemic, a global shutdown. And so what happened was historical in nature as it began. And so we can't look back, we can't hold our breath for those 2 and 3% interest rates. Now, will they come down? It's likely. But looking for that and thinking that time is coming back and waiting for that is a huge mistake, because it's just not a goal that you can either measure, work towards, or even anticipate. And so what they're talking about is assumable mortgages. And most government loans, I should say, there's a few caveats, some that are in modifications and whatnot, are assumable. They are built in from the beginning to be assumed by someone else. So what that means is, if you had a 30-year fixed mortgage at 3% interest, and you're now on year 2 of 38 repaying this, someone could take over that loan, that payment, all the terms stay the same. So if you've got 28 years left, this new person has 28 years left, and they can assume it. Now, that's all good and well. That's actually factual. But, and here's the big but, if that seller who is selling that house with that assumable mortgage and is offering assumable mortgage owes $300,000 on that mortgage and has 28 years left and is selling that house for $500,000, that $200,000 difference needs to be made up. And one of the big caveats that comes down, especially in FHA, the second mortgage that you get for that $200,000 also has to be assumable. And you can't assume a mortgage, an FHA mortgage, and get a second FHA mortgage to purchase. So if you've got a huge windfall, if you are selling a property and buying another property, you're going to assume that FHA mortgage, that could work out for you. But you're assuming it with the mortgage insurance. That's still coming in. You have to wait for the servicer, whoever's currently holding and servicing the mortgage, to approve you, 45 to 90 days. I know someone right now in Florida who's been trying to assume a mortgage since April.
Still need to qualify.
Still need a credit qualify. But you need to come up with that difference. And so a first-time home buyer with a 3.5% down payment on an FHA loan, thinking, well, this is great, I can assume that and then make up the difference. That's not so cut and dry.
Yeah.
And then on VA loans, which is the most widely known assumable, first of all, it doesn't have to go from a veteran to a veteran. A veteran can let a citizen assume their mortgage. However, their VA eligibility is tied up.
Yeah.
And so if a citizen...
So they can't go and purchase something using a VA loan?
Well, they might be able to if they have a little eligibility left.
Okay.
But they might be required to make a down payment.
Okay.
And then the bigger thing there is the huge risk that comes with letting the assumability go to a citizen. Now, if it's another veteran, they're tying up their eligibility, that's okay, it transfers over. But if it's to a citizen, their eligibility is tied up, and if this citizen forecloses, the veteran is the one that's charged. That
so does that happen often?
It happens. It happened a lot. Now they haven't been assumable because rates have been so low. People are just getting their own mortgage. It's been a big topic because interest rates are so high in general that this conversation is coming up. So not only do you need to make up that difference, but you as a seller, unless you're selling to another veteran, you pose the risk, and that veteran has to have the eligibility as well. You pose the risk of someone tying up your eligibility and also forfeiting your eligibility if they foreclose. So you take on a lot of risk for that. It works great with family deals. So just a question on that. So in that scenario, they go for another VA loan with the purchase, but they have to put a down payment down. What is the benefit of going through a VA loan if they have to put money down? Well, if they're selling and they're buying, and now I don't know why you would assume and just not sell. Maybe it was the community. We see it in Florida quite a bit where there's, some areas just aren't selling at certain prices or whatever. If it's a family deal, otherwise it doesn't make sense not to go to market and just sell it regular. There's really no big benefit that I could see, but if you are selling and you've got the chunk of change, you're putting it down anyways, and say you want to help your neighbor's kid buy, and you've got their parents are going to give the money. I've seen situations where it makes sense. There's an element of trust there, and the whole scenario works together. But you're getting that 15 to 30 second clickbait, and you're thinking that this is something that is easily attainable, and that's one thing I wanted to debunk, because I get asked this question 4 or 5 times a week, and it's I heard on TikTok I could get a 3% interest rate, and it's not completely incorrect, but there's an asterisk to all these TikToks.
You have to qualify.
You have to qualify, and how you make up the difference. Because
just give an attorney's answer of it depends.
It certainly does.
It depends.
It does. But the bigger answer to that is if you got a ton of cash.
But I see the benefit if you're assuming say a veteran's well-deserved benefit, and maybe a veteran to veteran, right? And you might entice more buyers, and you can assume the first part of this mortgage, you need to get a second one. But I feel that risk that you mentioned, Jazmine, kind of outweighs the benefit for you as a potential seller. You're leaving the door open for some serious risk, and the pool of buyers are just there. So it's kind of like
there's enough buyers.
Okay.
But maybe we're having.
Not a problem when I'm up against 30 other offers. But maybe in certain areas where, and this is just, Tracy Grady actually brought this up on a show that I did with her. So she's a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate with her husband Jim. They are the Grady team. Tracy does a lot of Saturday shows with me, but she had brought up that her daughter lives in Nashville, and there is a ton of real estate because they have a ton of new construction, and a lot of things are sitting, and not a lot of people are buying resales because there's so many new construction developments and so much to buy. So maybe in the areas that buyers do have sort of the privilege of having their pick of some multiple properties, that they're not that scenario wouldn't really work for they wouldn't really go for something like that.
Absolutely. And if it's a marketing perspective, I do understand it. But it's just really unfortunate that a lot of mortgage professionals are presenting this information to get more clicks on their 4 videos on YouTube.
Wait, don't knock the 4 videos. You guys have 4 videos.
Really good 4 videos.
Solid 4 videos.
Solid 4 videos.
But they're trying to get you in the door with a little bit of information. But if it's not helpful information, you really have to pick and choose what you listen to nowadays. So you're with the Talk Real Estate Roundtable. It's a good source of information. Yeah.
We are a good source of information.
It really is. And you've got professionals who the affordability is absolutely everything. That's why when we talk about this and we're looking at the rent versus own, and that's another thing. I think was it Realtor.com put something out saying that buying was better than, that renting was better than buying now.
What?
And they said, we've done all the math out.
Oh, you must have hated that.
Oh, we did some math.
I can't wait. I know. Yeah, listen, sidebar. Every time I do have a conversation with you and you do run the numbers and you're mad, and I'll just sit there on the phone like, all right, she'll tell me the number at the end. I don't need to follow her through this journey, right?
Everyone knows every number ever.
And she's like, this is really carry the one over, and I'm like, I'll wait. Can I give her another minute? And then it's okay. And then so this would be your payment. And then I'm like, okay. And this is what you have to bring at closing. Okay, yep, I can do that.
See, now what she's condensing into like a 4-second summary is every single closing cost.
Yeah. Figure this out, and I think you can do this. And I'm like,
what's your
okay. All right. Yeah.
I show my work, guys. I show my work.
Listen, I trust you enough to be like, she'll tell me the number. She'll tell me if I can do it or not.
As much as I love to be a trusted professional, and I really do, it means a lot. I always say, no matter how much you trust me, verify. I want you to look at it. I had one agent who's like, I don't care, just send it over. And I sent him over the worksheets. I was like, he's like, I have 6 minutes to put in this offer. Send me over everything. You know what I'm talking about. I said, send me over everything. I need the breakdowns right now. And I sent it to him within 3 minutes. And I did the mortgage insurance incorrect. And he goes, hey, I just took a quick look. The mortgage insurance looks too high. And I went, yep, that's the old FHA MIP. Yep. I've had this client so long, I was in the wrong files. FHA mortgage insurance premiums got cut by almost 30%. Wow. And I want you to question it.
Yeah.
I want you to look at the numbers, and I want you
to people have to know that they have to know what to ask.
Yeah, but the rate seems high. Let's talk about what it is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why it's that way. Because if you don't understand loan-level pricing adjustments as a whole, if you don't understand what makes an interest rate, if you don't understand what goes into your payment, it's really hard to control and manage.
Yeah.
And so I tell people, if it doesn't matter who you're pre-approved with, if you don't know your interest rate, even your floating interest rate, if you don't know your range of interest rates, if you don't know how the interest rate, if you don't know how the rate impacts your payment at different numbers, because it's always a moving target, and if you don't know how that and the purchase price work together and how it impacts the closing costs, you're in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
You need to ask those questions, and you need to be given the answer and not brushed off.
Yeah.
And not told you'll see a loan estimate whenever. You need to ask these questions, because now more than ever it has become increasingly more important to have the right team together and to fully understand where every penny is going.
Yeah.
It's vitally important. So that was one of the things I wanted to debunk, the 3% interest.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get to that point where even talking about points or what have you until you start with the basics and the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Here's your down payment. Here are closing costs. Here are the deposits. And here how they're different than the down payment.
Yeah.
It's really getting back to the basic level. But even getting down to the actual monthly mortgage payment, we've seen a lot of different things coming from different people.
Yeah.
And if information was the key, right, we'd all have 6-packs, right? But it's not information. It's application and talking to the right people, right? So we see a lot. Yeah, doing the work. And we see a lot of things. Things like taxes, right? So you're like, someone told me this, and it costs this much.
Yeah.
Just even a simple input, what you put in is what you get out. It's like, well, the taxes on this property that's $600,000 aren't $2,000 a year, right?
Yeah,
so it's like, but they wouldn't understand that if they don't know the fundamentals and the building block behind the mortgage. And I think that's where we try to, okay, 2 steps back, let's start from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, let's start, I know you want to debunk things, but let's start from the beginning. So, for the most part, like, and I know you can't get into specifics, and I don't want you to, but, you know, people approach you, they want to see if they qualify, or they, you know, where they are. I'll use myself as an example, because I'm pretty open about that. Like, I came to you, and I was like, just let me know if I'm on the right path. Like, let me know if my journey has started. And you're like, you're already at the end of the path, you're like in the ocean, you're like, you need a boat, type of thing. But, like, so how is the beginning process for you guys? Like, what expectations do you set for clients that come to you?
So I think George and I work a little differently, which makes us a great team. I'll just say mine, you can say what you do, but I always like to start with a phone call conversation. As much as email is effective and everything can be done online, I like to know who you are, what your goals are, what your comfort level is, and what your current savings level is monthly.
I'm sorry, my mind automatically went to like dating. Like, I feel like I would pick up the phone and be like, what are your goals in life? What do you do? Like, that would be my dating questions. What do you do for fun? How much do you have in savings? I'm looking for the red flags. So you want to like start to date, like you're like a little online dating for you, like when you're starting out.
And also to make sure that I'm a good fit.
Yeah.
And there are certain programs that we just don't do, and I just don't believe I don't believe that they're actually beneficial. To the foreclosure rates on them, I don't believe they're beneficial.
Yeah.
We don't offer them. And sometimes that is the best program for somebody. And I will direct them to somewhere else if they're not. So there is a little bit of dating there. And I've got to say that happens with maybe 1% of people. It's not often. But there's a little bit of that. I want to make sure that it's the right speed. Like, my speed is super analytical. I go deep. I'm talking to you about every number. I'm talking about how things are built. George is a little bit bubblier, and
as he's sitting there smiling, like, yeah, dude.
And he also, you know, he's gonna relate to you on his kids and the dog, and it even comes down to that. Like, how are we gonna work together? Like, how are we gonna be a team? Because we're really gonna be talking together for a while if you don't find the right home, if you don't get your offer accepted, you know, it could be years.
If we're working on credit for the next 4 months to get you in a position, are you changing lanes in your career?
Right. And so we like to kind of get the baseline and figure out, do you have the building blocks in place to buy? That's the first thing. I'm going to look at your credit. Do you have, it's not just the score. Do you have a thin profile, a thick profile? You know, do you have a history of good repayment? Do you have a history of bad repayment? Do you have old things that are new? How do you look on paper for credit? I'm going to look at your income. I'm going to be looking at your past history. Is college part of your 2-year history? Do I have those documents? You know, are you salary? Are you hourly? You know, things like that. I'm going to look at how much you have saved. Are you getting a gift? Are you looking for a down payment assistance? I'm going to look at those kind of components. Those are just the basic loan officer level stuff. I'm going to be able to use that information to create a budget, see what programs qualify. But then there's the bigger thing, probably the more important thing that we do, and that is prepping people and seeing how ready they are to actually own a home. And a lot of this just comes down to education. So we're going to be talking about all of the components of home ownership. It's not just you are buying, this is how much you owe, this is the loan, here you go. Let's talk about you're buying new construction, and did you know that you should probably have a dehumidifier in the basement because the concrete is seeping moisture. And for the first several months, you're going to have a humid or wet basement. Do you understand that your utility bills, when you have a solar, are going to be different than if you don't have a solar? Do you know the difference between a solar lease? Do you know the difference between a purchase agreement? Do you understand what the tax and water and well and all those charges are in the town? Because the mortgage payment is only part of it. It's only part of it. All the other things, like people want these crazy things like electricity and food. It's wild. It's wild. And they don't.
Heat.
What?
And
you can't just set the house on fire. You gotta heat it some other way.
I'd like to officially state here that you cannot just set your house on fire.
Please don't.
The difference between flood, like we were just talking to Amy Milligan from CRV Insurance, and she blew our minds. Did you know that if you have an above ground pool and it lets go, your home insurance doesn't cover that? You will have needed flood insurance.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people don't.
That just blew my mind.
Right?
And it's cheap as well. Like, I mean, $500 if you're not in a flood zone. I'm not quoting insurance, but it's ballpark, a lot less expensive than you think it is for the amount of coverage.
And so kind of gauging this stuff, and some people will take it and they're just going, oh, that's really good information. This is, I'm totally ready. Like, and other people will be like, I think I need to save more.
Yeah.
Like, I think I need to make sure I have a bigger safety net. And I'm not going to judge you. If the loan program is telling you need absolutely nothing in your checking account at closing, and you're okay with that, I'm not going to tell you cannot buy. But what I'm going to advise is, come day one, you've moved in, this house is now yours, the oil tank, let's go. You need an oil tank, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And I'm making sure that during the home buying process, you've got a plan.
Okay, yeah, now I'm very nervous.
Don't be nervous. Be informed.
No, yeah, it's so true. I mean, I've been, on my home journey for a year now, like pretty much exactly a year, and I think about it every single time I put in an offer. I'm like, okay, this is just my payment, I can do that, but like, what happens, and I say this all the time on the show, like, it's not just about the payment, it's like, the day after closing, like, I'm by myself. It's up to me to pay the electric bill,
yes.
to buy oil for the tank, to do something if it breaks. Like, it's up to me, and if I can't budget that, then I shouldn't be purchasing a house in that range.
And your rate of savings is one of the factors that I knew you were ready, because you, with your current rent plus your rate of savings, exceeding your mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Which means you'll be able to continue saving.
Yeah.
And building up that nest after.
Yeah.
So that's mine. I always have to start with the phone call, because I can send you the link. You can fill out the link and in your information. You can send me 10 documents, and we can have this wrapped up in an hour. But I want to kind of figure out where your education needs to start.
Yeah.
Start at the very building,
Yeah.
The building blocks, or do you own 15 properties and you I need to give you the high level type of education. George,
I want you to be able to say.
We always say that, we're more than an interest rate. And I think Jazmine goes back to the point of it's a deeper dive. And and folks always, just in real estate in general, they're like, well, first step of buying a home is you need to get pre-approved.
Yeah.
And I think the first step of buying a home is doing what you did, is reaching out and having a conversation, listening to shows like this.
Woo-hoo.
For me, it was after I purchased my first home, was listening to a ton of podcasts just about real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, the information gathering stage, I think, is crucial.
Yeah.
And we're happy to provide that information. There's some good stuff on our YouTube channels. But that conversation, and as you guys mentioned in the show intro, that holistic approach. Because we want to know, we get those 10 documents on an online application, and they're making a bunch of money, they've got the savings and everything's there. But they're really pushing on what they can qualify for.
Yeah.
But we don't see the whole rest of their picture.
Yeah. They're planning on quitting their job tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're planning on, whatever.
Who else is in their world that's going to be a part of their home? That's we take a holistic approach, and like you mentioned, if it's not now, it's okay. What are the steps we need to go through? What's the game plan to get there? Because we believe that home ownership's not for everyone, but it should be attainable. You should have a path.
Yeah.
You should be informed.
Yeah. I also think that it's super important to know, why do you want to purchase your home? What's your intent for this home? So,
it comes down to why.
Yeah, why? So, me, yes, I'm a first-time home buyer. I'm not looking for my forever home. I'm looking really to start somewhere, and, gain some equity there, put some work into it, and sort of reevaluate my life in a couple of years. But, that's my, I'm not, yes, I'm 32. I'm always honest about that. 32, not married. I don't have another person being oh, let's, buy this house and start our family and do all these things. That's not on my radar right now. I'm focused on myself and how I can, move forward by myself. And there are some people that are oh, I want the big house. I want the big yard. I want this, in a nice neighborhood or whatever their requirements are. But, I think that the why is also sort of a factor in why people go to you.
It's one of the biggest factors that we look at when we're talking to people, because your why is also kind of your how. For you might have some house hacking ideas, like a property you looked at recently had a chicken coop. We're selling eggs, man.
We're selling eggs. I'll rent out my chicken coop to anybody who has chickens.
Exactly. Having the strategy around it.
Yeah.
And also I've got couple people that come to mind when I think about the importance of why, and I could literally cry thinking about them and their journey and their goals.
Yeah.
And one person, Tracy, told me I could shout her out anytime. She's one of my very, 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 very favorite clients. Started off in the lowest of the low position and never ever thought she could buy. It took several years of credit repair, several years of counseling, several years of savings plans, talking 3-4 times a week. And she bought the first home, and she just closed on her home equity line. She took a $100,000 home equity line to buy her first investment property.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At a point she never thought she'd own a house for her kids. And now she's trying to buy an investment property for her teenage kids so that they have a place to go to. And it is literally why we do this. And it's one of those things where if you don't have this dialed down as someone who's considering real estate, if you haven't written it down, you have no guidance. I heard a bell. So
10 minutes. That's a 10-minute mark. We only have 10 minutes left.
Oh my gosh, it always
Wild.
flies.
I know.
So we talked about the why.
Yeah, we talked about the why.
We talked about how we start off. George, can we spend just 3 minutes on the cost of waiting?
Oof.
Can we talk
Yeah,
about
I know. You were excited about that. Yeah,
the buy
cost of waiting.
The buy versus sell, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, and I
Buy
think
versus own.
the
Rent.
What is it? What are those?
I feel like that's always the back of just high level, right? Oh, my rent, I could be paying a mortgage, right? How many times have you heard that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And people say, oh, come on, dummy, don't rent, buy. Look at what you're missing out on, right? But it's got to make sense. And there are some financials, there are some economics behind it. And in the market that we're in, particularly in a higher price point market.
And a higher interest rate market.
Higher interest rate market, particularly the higher interest rate market, because we were at a particular spot where buying and owning was getting close to being cheaper than renting. But typically in a higher price point area, a desirable place to live, talking about new construction, people around here, it's typically more expensive to own and purchase and have a mortgage than it is to rent on a monthly cash flow perspective.
And that's key. Cash flow.
Cash flow.
Yes, which is, however, but you're missing out on the loan pay down, the amortization, the value growth.
Building equity. Yep.
But it does require cash flow.
And the reason we looked at this, just take Weymouth for example. Average sale price right now is $560,000 in In 2020, when it was already heightened, I didn't use 2019 because I felt that was cheating. It was $463,000. So it has gone up $100,000 year over year. What percentage is that $93,000? Is it almost 20%? No, 23% from 4 years ago, right? Now, even in a higher interest rate environment, right, you don't lose that equity. You're just paying higher on the principal. So everyone that I keep talking to, I'm going to wait for rates to go lower. So if everybody is waiting for rates to get lower, and the people who are currently shopping, who are not waiting for rates to get lower, they are just shopping. If there's already so much competition.
Think about the competition. Think about the 40 offers, 45 offers we were getting when the interest rate was even at 4.
So that's what, when we saw that number, we said, okay, if they're saying it's better to rent than buy, let's look at the cash flow. Because if you're gonna buy and you're gonna immediately sell, probably doesn't make sense. 1 year, 2 years. But if you're gonna buy and you're gonna hold on to it, George, do some math out for us.
I mean, we did a couple scenarios. One was just buying and renting and doing the same thing. I'm going to buy, sit there for 15 years, or rent and stay there for 15 years. Now, there are some inputs in terms of a slight rent increase over 3%, amortization going up, and, maintenance and repairs and taxes.
So if we're buying for $563,167, which is the exact average.
we need to look right to the point. Now, the overall cash flow difference, meaning the cost of ownership on a monthly basis, what I'm out of pocket, it's more expensive to own the home by $45,000 roughly, right? But what are you missing out on? The appreciation gain, right? So the net gain of overall owning the home, you're missing out on almost $600,000, $583,000 because you own the home. So it's like, yes, it is costing me money, and let's call it $46,000. Over 15 years, not a huge sum of money, more out of pocket, but in the next 15 years, what's more of an investment?
Yep.
I know, because after the 15 years, you go to sell it, and you're using that to purchase something else, or maybe you don't want to purchase it. Yeah, maybe you don't want to purchase something, and then you can rent, but you have that sort of money that you made off of your purchase. Yeah.
That's the thing is, I have a lot of clients who, we have a lot of clients who, yes, they might have purchased for more than they wanted to during the craze, and other people who have purchased before that who now have a safety net.
Yeah.
Who now have something to sell and restart if they need to.
Yeah.
And while it really has to make sense, they might make a lateral move. Maybe on the next house they just put down 10%, even though they have 40%. Use that 30% to subsidize their payment.
Yeah.
That amortization, in the principal loan reduction, because as you're paying that rent every month, it's going to someone else's mortgage. It's going to someone else's pocket, and it doesn't get you at anything. So in 15 years, standard appreciation of, what is the appreciation on that?
Of just over 4%.
4%, which is average.
Well, we had this conversation earlier when we were having lunch. It's like, yeah, you're paying rent every month, but then when you go to leave where you're renting to rent somewhere else, think about the cost that you need to even get into a place. So
we were talking about that. This doesn't include, in this, our $45,000 more in cash flow does not include first, last, and security. That assumes you stay in the same place. But if you move, that security buyer fee, you're 4 months of that at $4,000. That's $16,000 off that $45,000 mark, and now we're talking about less than $30,000 on a cash flow perspective to get $526,000, a total net gain of almost $583,000.
Yeah.
Over 15 years, and of course it's a long time period, but we did the math shorter. We did the math for 10 years and 5 years, and all of them range from $74,000 in appreciation all the way up to the $583 number in 15 years. So if you don't, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? And it doesn't even talk about the fact that you can have chickens.
Yeah,
you can have
chickens.
The peace of mind, the stability, and
peace of mind.
There's no control.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's really the.
Well, I've always said to you, Jazmine, that I want to get into something myself. I'm really only looking for like a 2-bedroom. 3-bedroom would be ideal, but they're so few and far between. But I always say to you, if for some reason I needed to get a roommate, I need the space, the opportunity to in the house. So that would be my only sort of specific thing that I'm looking for when it comes to a house is could 2 people live in this house?
An exit strategy. And a lot of people are doing that together. A lot of families are buying together right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people are building townhouses with multiple families in it. So there's a lot of strategies around it.
Not necessarily an exit I need to sell. It's the backup plan.
Always need a backup plan. We only have about 2-ish minutes left, so I want to give you guys an opportunity to give your contact information out, and we'll do final thoughts. So you guys can fight over.
Cut the contact down, kick it off. It's the same plain sentence.
Yes, we are Jazmine Glasgow and George Post from Maritime Mortgage. You can find us online at maritimemortgage.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube.
YouTube. Woo!
You can also email us. It's team, TEAM, at maritimeloan.com. That's maritime like the ocean, loan like a mortgage.com. And that goes to our whole team. George, myself, or someone from our team will answer. You work with all of us. It's the same thing. Or you can call George on his cell at
781-534-8071.
And again.
That was my radio voice.
Yeah, another one.
781-534-8071.
You can call me on my cell, but call him first at 774-240-4667 because I talk too fast.
Okay, one more time. Give your phone number one more time.
774-240-4667, or again, team at maritimeloan.com.
Yeah, like I said, I CC your team on everything that I send out. I will call you sitting in a kitchen somewhere and say, hey, can I afford this house? I'm that person. But you know what? You guys are honestly the best of the best, and we wouldn't use you personally if we didn't think that. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. And I know you guys left for a little while. You were here for lunch and then you came back, but I really appreciate it.
We just had a tour of the South Shore.
Oh, yeah.
Where we live and work.
Oh, yeah, where you live, work.
Snacks,
Yeah, had some snacks. Oh, I love that. But yeah, you can listen to any of our past shows at talkrealestateroundtable.com. Again, we are Boston Connect Real Estate. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you also want to listen to any of our past shows, you can go to your podcast app, Talk Real Estate Roundtable. You can go to bostonconnect.com for all of our contact information. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, you can join me every week.
We will be here.
Bye, George. And the lie.
The temperature is perfect on those headphones.
Oh, yeah? The temperature.